Assalamu alaikum. So this is another tutorial video I'm making, and can't seem to figure out. Oh, this angle looks much better. So I'm still in the bed sofa. Haven't been able to move because of my bad back and spinal injury. Hope to see you guys in the near future. Don't forget to follow our social media links, and let us know if you want any other videos on digital illustration, animation, or anything like that while I'm recuperating from my bad back. This video will explain gestural drawing and the force anatomy concept, using the arc and the circle to create a character stick figure around that. Based on the numerous character sketches, stick figure sketches, quick sketches that we will do, we'll select maybe two or three of those drawings and build up anatomy of a female character or as well as a male character based on those stick figure drawings, just changing slightly the features. So it's not really hard to create characters in your mind, but it has a step-by-step process. If you cannot follow the step-by-step process, and if you want to do freehand, if you want to do that's totally fine. But please basically learn the basics before you actually try to attempt to do advanced anatomy or difficult anatomy poses, because first and foremost comes the anatomy poses, and if you guys cannot do that, then the anatomy will be off, the dimensions, the symmetry will be off of a character, and the weight of the character as it is on the ground will also be affected. So this is a very good exercise to actually figure out how the weight, the physics of a character, body posture works. And I'll do some complex ones later on as well, inshallah, based on the response from this video. So enjoy the video and hope to see you soon. So this is the graphical interface of Paint Tool and I've opened up a couple of files. So this is how you open a file. You just go to open and select the folder that you want to open up. Now we have in the bottom portion 4 or 5 different tabs. So I am going to click and drag all the files, the layers, into one major file, and I'm going to pick and choose which file or which character I want to make. So these are all the ladies from the comic book series that I've been developing, Inspector AK47. First of the comic book episodes is out, and you can get it from Comic Con PK. Just contact us, and also they will be soon be available in some nearby bookstores as well in Lahore city. So I'm just taking Sitara, the character who wears a hijab and she carries a beretta, and I'm going to scale her down using the shift key, so that I scale her down appropriately, or to the proper dimensions. I'm going to create another marquee selection, cut, paste it, and scale it down to size, so that her proportions, height proportions, side view proportions are equal. So these are the two side view proportions. Now I'm going to show you how to draw the side view proportion. So before I start, let's start drawing um, a, a scale or a scale reference. So this is going to be the scale reference for forehead. I'm going to use another layer. So this is that another layer, and I'm going to copy paste and create duplicates of this layer by using the Control D shortcut key. You can also set shortcut keys for yourself and create duplicate copies for the waist, copies for the side view. Now when you're creating these lines, shift click click once and shift click on the other side, and you can create a straight line using the paintbrush tool or the basic tool, basic in the basic raster layer tool. Always select the raster tail, and you can use also the pen tool or the brush tool, airbrush tool, depending on what you want to do, what type of thickness and what type of detail you want. Sorry for the sound in the background. Let me just pause this up. Give me a second. Okay. So there's some noise in the back. Okay. So now I'm trying to show you guys that there is a straight arc line that follows, and the symmetry on the front side, front view, is fairly like it's like a mirror version of on the right side. So I'm going to explain some very basic things about female anatomy. The female anatomy is made up of an hourglass with two circular lines that represent the hips of the character, and then you have the breasts, which are basically two circles on the chest lining of the point where the hourglass are intersecting from the upper and the lower part. The legs and the overall anatomy are fairly the same, and also the hips, thighs, fairly same. The main difference comes when you're drawing characters from the side view and when you're drawing characters, specifically females. Female characters have a thinner body anatomy than male characters, and I will show you this in this example now, that when you're drawing females, of course you draw the bone structure in a slight curve manner, but once you're drawn a female anatomy, the lower leg, the upper thighs, the hips, the buttocks, they all need to have a smooth outline and also a very well formed outline. Now I'm drawing and trying to illustrate the difference between a female anatomy and a male anatomy. The buttocks is slightly larger, and it has more volume to it, and it's slightly tapered onto the bottom side, and the legs, thighs, lower leg are the muscles are thicker. So this is the basic difference between female leg and male leg. Male legs or male leg anatomy is slightly muscular. Females also have muscular anatomy, but it depends from female to female what type of muscular anatomy you want to define. And also the difference between a female's legs and thighs and hips is that females actually have a wider frame to the side. The reason is that females have a wider hip is because they have the womb which carries the child. That's why females have wider hips than males, and males have wider chests. Females have thinner chests and wider hips. So it's sort of like a balancing act that if you flip the drawing upside down, you have the male chest, and if you flip it backwards, you have the female chest. So now I'm going to further expand on the female drawing. I am going to add the side view and maybe clean up some of the drawing portions so that we can come with the leg region. So I'm now drawing the leg region and cleaning up from place to place. Always use the eraser tool rather than the undo tool. It's always a good practice. Now I'm going to create a curve arc spine. It tapers off from the side, and I'm now going to draw the breasts. Now typically I might get into trouble with my students. Typically there are three types of breasts. It depends on age. The areola in one of the breasts, the areola is pointing upwards. In the second one, it's pointing straight forward, and then there is the areola that is drooping downwards. And the importance of the breast is that the areola or the nipple is pointing outwards from the collarbone of the character. So even if you draw the character from the side view, this is sort of like a technique of how to draw female breasts, that you figure out the overall shape of the breast, and then you create the collarbones of the character, and then you create the areola or the nipple. So now I'm going to fix the dimensions of the breast. It takes a couple of tries to actually figure out how to make the breast look like on the character, depending on the age of the character and what type of breast style, the look and feel of the breast should be. Mind you, this portion might actually make a couple of my students giggle, but it's something that male and female anatomy is based on. It's nothing to laugh at. It's a natural occurring thing, and I hope I don't get into trouble with my students this year. And every year it's the same old thing, that one student or two students always complains that, oh, sir is teaching us how to draw female anatomy, and it's vulgar and disgusting, and it's teenage hormones, I guess. Some kids are not very comfortable with drawing female characters, and you have to be you have to be very careful, and you have to be very considerate of people's feelings, but not if the kids are actually like hoity-toity that, oh, this is not allowed in our religion and this and that. It's perfectly fine. If you guys are not comfortable with drawing female anatomy, you should not do female anatomy. I would say, if you're okay with drawing female anatomy, you should definitely do female anatomy, draw female anatomy. It's up to a person's preference. I would say, okay, it's totally fine if somebody has like an issue, or but you should never avoid doing something just because you're not good at it. I personally believe that if you're not good at something, you should always try to do it. Now I'm adding some the details of the scarf from the side view, and I'm trying to figure out the proportions of the scarf based on this front view, so that I can get a general feel of the scarf that she's wearing. It's called a hijab. So now I'm adding some folds and dimensions, and it's always a trial and error. You try some folds, you test them out, you see if it fits, if it doesn't, and then you reorganize accordingly if it is working or not. So looking at this, I'm fairly okay with this. I'm just a bit more concerned with the belt and the folds on her waistline above the belt. I'm adding the nose, the lips, sorry, and some extra features on the hijab. And now I'm going to draw the shoulders and the arms. Arms normally come out of the character as a socket, and it's again a curved direction, and then another curved direction, and you add some details to the hands, and the hands can also be drawn in like a triangular form, because female fingers are pointy and thin compared to a male's hands and fingers. So the triangle has to be much more well detailed and defined. So this is the curvature of a female hand. Compared to this, I'm going to create another copy, and I'm going to move this. Now this is also starting at the navel. So the not the navel, sorry, the crotch region of a character. So this is another example of a character's hand, but this is again hand of a male character. The fingers are edgy. In this one, the fingers are not edgy, and the flow or the curvature is straight round, and the fingers are a bit blocky. So this is the anatomy of the arm. Again, have a very detailed and thin long arm, rather than have like a bulky muscular arm for a female character. So I'm thinning it out further, adding some more muscle details. Sorry, muscle. I said muscle details. And mind you, female characters have like not that very well defined, well detailed muscle. I'm now adding the shirt or the shirt sleeve onto the arm and shoulder, and you can always see that I start first with the stick figure and then the detail of the muscle, and then I build up the clothing on top. So it's a three-phase process, and I feel comfortable doing this because most of the students, when they start drawing illustrations, and even I've seen graduating students from like universities and colleges, they always go for freehand. This is a very bad practice. Initially, when you're learning how to draw, try to draw step by step. First, draw the stick diagram or the force lines of the character, and then draw the details of the muscle, the bone structure. Initially, you just start with the bone structure, then you start with the muscles, and then you start with the details of the clothing. And also, you can I'll make some more tutorials if anybody wants to have like tutorials on clothing and clothing folds, depending on the characters that I work up with. And on that note, I would now give it a pause. Yeah, so I'm trying to figure out the feet and the shoes right now, and I'm adding some detail, erasing some detail, making it look more like a shoe, matching the side view as well as the front view with the details, and giving it a few minutes to sink in. It always takes, sometimes it takes you a while to figure out what's wrong, and give yourself some time, go away for a while from your drawing and figure it out. So, I'm now figuring out if I want to give this character like she's holding the gun in her hand and two fingers up, maybe like add the third finger down as well, and figuring out how to draw the gun's dimensions. And also, I might be actually making some mistakes on this and the dimensions of the gun, but let's see. Yeah, I think I'm making some mistakes on the place where the character is holding the gun handle from. It should be back. It should be onto the right a little bit. So for this type of issues, I think best practice would be to draw the Beretta gun on the side view as a reference quickly, and try to figure out how to make the gun stand in on the character. Okay, so I'm drawing the base of the handle on the gun. Now this is a typical Beretta gun. I have not looked at a reference. I'm just looking at it from my imagination and did some transformations over there using the Control T command, figuring out the dimensions. This is the trigger and the hammer of the gun, and I guess this looks much more promising than that illustration loosely drawn. I'm going to erase this portion of the gun and come up with the hand proportions a little bit, redraw on it, flip it and scale it, and fit it onto the right place. So this is fairly how the gun and the Beretta, the character holding the gun from the on the side looks like. Now I might actually figure out that maybe the girl is actually holding two Berettas. I mean, like going one on one or two on two, or maybe she's just holding one gun in one hand. So it's basically dependent on me, what type of arsenal she's carrying, and maybe gun holsters and etc. And I'll come up with those ideas later on in the comic series, and maybe I'll start with like some rough cut animation sequences on the first episode of the book. So this is fairly all there is to it. As far as hands are concerned, I'm just placing all the drawings based on my requirements, and moving around some things, figuring out where the hand should look like. And I've created like two different versions of the hand, one with one with the gun, one without the gun. And I'm just now scaling and fixing so that the drawing actually fits in to the main drawing main fits into the entire canvas, selecting all the layers, merging them together, and then scaling this entire layer up. So this is I paused the video a little bit, and I actually added the detail of the character. So this character now looks fairly detailed from the side view. So here it is, the side front views of the character. So that's it for this tutorial, and I'm going to save a quick JPEG file just in case, so that I have the image reference available. And that's it for this tutorial. Hope to see you guys again. Bye bye, take care.